Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. Welcome back to one of the spiciest days of Call of Duty that we have had in quite some time. Los Angeles Thieves, especially after their result today, very frustrated indeed with the CDL about the servers they had to play on. Is there any validity though to the claims that are being made over these last few minutes? Very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I would greatly appreciate it. Really upset the channel. Thank you very much indeed for doing that. Plenty to discuss today. First of all, just to say this, because of course Mutineers are the series today. Seems like they might have tested positive for the last few days, so maybe they're feeling somewhat under the weather. We'll see their series here in a few minutes time. But gotta talk firstly about the Subliners versus the Paris Legion. Of course, look, I didn't expect this to be a particularly entertaining series. It wasn't a particularly entertaining series. On the other side of things, credit to Subliners. A very similar story here actually to what we see with the Minnesota Rokkr here in a second. But I mean, look, their respawn at the start of the year, their hard win especially, was absolutely tragic. And well, now it's turned around massively, of course. Yes, they played the Paris Legion a couple of times, but you know, still an impressive series victory nonetheless. They win game one. It wasn't close. It was a barrage. Usually on barrage, teams can kind of keep things tight. But yeah, Paris are honestly hopeless. It's kind of tragic to see. Like, they won more series at the Prem, or at least they won the same amount of series at the Prem as they've done the entire season so far. Like, they've only won two series this entire year, and it doesn't really look like it's going to change anytime soon. If anything, it's getting worse. That's the problem when you've got a team like this, and it's going to just keep going downhill, that the chemistry and the frustration is disappearing. You know, Donny Temp doesn't even have his camera on, and who can blame him given the situation that he finds himself in. I'm sure he's very frustrated with what he feels is probably one of his best Call of Duties in a very long time, is getting wasted on a Paris Legion team, right? And Hydra probably should have hit the shot earlier, but eventually he nails it and wins around the gut 4-0. They win this map comfortably. This was one of the fastest series you were going to see. Game 1 was very quick, Game 2 was very quick, and Game 3 was a 3-0 in the control, so really not that much to say. Look at this Game 2 as well. John goes for the donuts. This is the problem with Paris. Like, I almost thought that they could have won a map in this series. Like, going in, I always feel like Paris have some sort of potential here, but the thing is, John and Jimmy are just by far the weakest SMG duo in the league. It's not even close. They're both prone to having absolute howlers at any given opportunity, not just in the searches, but the respawns as well. And when they're having series like this, it's just impossible for them to win. We'll see it here in a second. Like, I mean, yeah, Subliners win this series 3-0. Not all that surprising. The funny thing is really with Paris Legion, actually, just because Paris are like, I'm pretty sure for French fans, if you guys are from France or like, you know, you're a fan of French players, my understanding is that French fans are pretty much unanimously here supporting Hydra and the Subliners, of course, French player Hydra on New York, as opposed to supporting Paris, who have done nothing at all to try and, you know, help the grassroots French team pick up any players. So Paris are basically hated by pretty much everyone, including the French fans themselves, which of course is not so ideal. And poor Donny Temp, right, you know, I do have to feel for him to a degree here, honestly, given the fact that, like, you know, he's obviously been looking rather good. But Crimsix reckons that, you know, Temp, of course, is not necessarily playing 100% to actually win, as he describes right here. GG's just played some pro team that wasn't even trying to win. Easy money. Donny, you know, whatever, still owes me $100. Like, you know, I know I mentioned this the other day, but I'll just point it out regardless for you guys to read. Not going to comment on it all that much though, because we've got to talk about this, as Temp says, you know, just send PayPal, I got you, you're absolutely terrible. Now the replies here were rather funny, to be honest. I thought this reply actually from Temp was pretty hilarious. So anyway, Crimsix says the following, basically saying, like, you know, PS, you camp like a dad that works a 9 to 5, family of 4, Bud Light and had game with his high school buddies from 1986. I thought it was kind of funny, really. Basically, Crimsix is saying, look, Temp, you weren't doing anything that series, you weren't trying to win, you were just sitting back there, getting your damage, getting your kills, looking good on the scoreboards, and you know, there may be an element to that to Temp's kind of discussion right here, because at the end of the day, Temp's got to continue to look like the best player on this team if he wants to hope to get picked up by another team next year. There is an element to that, but at the same time, I do still think he is by far the best player on this team, and has proved it this entire season, and is, well, pretty much the only reason at times they've come close to winning maps and series. I don't know if they're going to do anything. I don't know if they're going to try and make any changes or whatever. We saw them try some things earlier in the season, you know, Decimate, Fellow, they're kind of gone. We've got some other options into the team. Doesn't really seem to be helping. I feel like John has got to be next on the chopping block, but it's not like Jimmo's been much better. So it's a tough situation for them, if they even want to bother, to be honest, for the rest of the season, as they don't really seem to. But as Simp goes on to say, I'm a faster AR than you, you're terrible, get carried by Paco, that being Hydra, poor Lex, of course, you know, you're fat, you're thick, it looks like your lip got sore from sucking a lot of glizzies, your dog is fat. I feel bad for that poor dog, man. Like, where did the dog come into this whole thing? And there's a bit of a follow-up here between the both of them, Crim Temp, go back and forth before they kind of finish out as follows. So look, it was an entertaining, you know, state of affairs. I think the Crimsix, despite the fact that this is kind of a bit tongue-in-cheek, they're kind of having a bit of banter, like, I'm sure they kind of get on, but still, I thought the comments from Crimsix about you camp like a dad that works a 9 to 5 was maybe rather insightful to how Crimsix believes the Paris team is playing right now, you know, some pro team that wasn't even trying to win. Interesting stuff. I thought this was going to be the spiciest thing of the day. Turns out not actually to be the case, though, as Spart says his dog right now winning this, right, you know, poor Crimsix's dog catching strays for no reason at all, and, you know, this I thought was, you know, pretty funny for the flag catching here from Gersh. Of course, he's also social media guy at the New York Subliners. You can imagine he's have a bit of affection for Crimsix, but you know, still these ARs are having a mid of in the battle right here. Paris Legion, they may need Zadenia to step back into the lineup. This team was actually alright. Shout out Novus here in the background just before we talk about our second series, because he was, well, formerly Paris Legion, then he was the analyst on Los Angeles Thieves. Now this guy's the general manager of the Seattle Surge. They played a series today, kind of grudge match for Novus in a way to kind of get one over on his former team. Final stats though real quick from this Paris series. Yeah, like, I don't really want to comment too much. It's pretty tragic. But look, when Kismet's dropping a 1.36, they're going to 3-0 pretty much everyone, right? Because Kismet's not meant to be the guy that's dropping crazy numbers. When he is, the teams are going to have a hard time losing. Temp drops the most damage on his team, and well, pretty much the most damage in the lobby outside of Hydra. 4,400 over 3 maps. It's not particularly good. Let's talk about this second series then, right? So Sib, honestly, the first thing to say about Sib's camera, why is it so delayed? I don't know if it's his camera or whether it's just the production, because it's so funny. He clutched this ridiculous 1v2 in the Search and Destroy, and then like the teammates are clearly gassing him up. Aku's turn around, go Sib, nice clutch or whatever, and he's still just looking at his monitor like this. So I did think this was kind of funny, to be honest. But game 1 goes Seattle's way. This was honestly, Kenny started out this map like 1 in 7, 1 in 8. He seemed to kind of be losing full. Both SMGs, you know, I said earlier that John and Jimbo, the worst SMG duo in the league. This series, Envoy and Kenny weren't too far behind, to be honest. Like, I mean, look at this map 1. It wasn't pretty at all. Mac was dominating, and it did seem like a little bit one of these kind of classic Seattle Surge performances where they just turn up. Accuracy's going positive here. Mac's going off on the main stage, and of course, well, that gets them over the line. 252.05 though. This is a map where Los Angeles Thieves are pretty good, and if they're going to lose map 1, they've got to bounce back in the second game. As I say, every single series here is very important for champ seeding, all this type of stuff. And well, they go down 1-0, they've got to bounce back. That was not the case at all. Even as Paris says, he wasn't happy at all with the way that these kind of teams were playing, super scrappy. Thieves are also notorious having high kill efficiency, low kills, close hard points, but in the end, of course, they lose this one. Now, game 2 also goes Seattle's way. This game was not particularly close though. Like, there were a few rounds here where Mac was making some great plays. I mean, look at this, right? The turn on he has onto Kenny was absolutely outrageous, and that gets him a 3-1. Like, this should not have gone their favor really until they managed to win this round somehow. They close. I mean, a 3 versus 2, you can't be letting Mac do this to you. It really just cannot be happening. But it happens to Kenny. Of course, he's got some word to say on exactly why that might have been the case here in just a second. But I mean, yeah, this is a massive round for Thieves to win. They lose this one. They go on to lose this map comfortably, a 6-2 deficit they go down to in the end. And look at this, actually. There was some talk about this, just because Octane, of course, was having a hard time. And there was some questions being raised as to whether they were even actually trying. Because look at this. Octane comes out of top and just does a 360 in mid-air. Crimsix even quote tweeted this to kind of say, like, look, at FaZe Clan, because Octane's coming around 360ing off the top. And that's the thing. Like, I wonder if Nadeshot's watching this thing in a second, lads. Like, you know, are we really actually trying to win this? Because we're down 1-0, down 4-1, and Octane's doing 360s off the top, and you're losing this round as well. Like, I really don't understand it, to be perfectly honest. Like, Octane, of course, has a few words to say in a second as well. We'll see it. But, I mean, yeah, honestly, Los Angeles Thieves, after the promise they showed at the Pro-Am, are back in absolute shambles, to be perfectly honest. I mean, when you see stuff like this, it's like, you know, you don't see many other teams doing this. That, at least, is my perspective. They go down 2-0, and then they get completely blown out of the control. Like, obviously, Seattle were kind of running with things, and Mac was doing some ungodly things, to be honest, here. As well, we can see with this 3-piece, as well, colleagues say, this pretty much sums up the series in a nutshell. That was outrageous. But, I mean, yeah, Thieves, they got 3-0 last week, of course, by the Minnesota Rokkr. That was pretty tragic in and of itself. But this one was honestly worse, to be honest. I mean, Sid was, of course, loving it, and who can blame him? Now, here we go with the kind of responses from Octane and the Los Angeles Thieves guys to their loss in this series. Practice goes so well, doesn't translate into matches. I don't get it. Need to figure it out. GG Seattle. It's like, I mean, yeah, figure it out with this current team, I guess, is the discussion. We did wonder whether they might decide to pull the trigger on something if something doesn't work. We shall see. Now, this is where Kenny comes into the fray with that, well, this statement. We saw a lot of this talk when the league first went online back in Modern Warfare. The big discussion has been in the last few days, actually, from the likes of Methods and Co, that really this game now, the online to LAN, isn't that much different. Online is so much closer to LAN than it has been in the past. Now, look, Kenny and Co, they're out there in Los Angeles. That was a big talking point going into the season. Are the servers good enough from LA to kind of compete with some other teams? Now, from all the discussion we've seen so far this season, generally, it's been pretty good, right? Like, a lot of guys in LA say, okay, it's actually okay. The servers are kind of fine. Like, they've got better servers now that are kind of closer to, I think, like Denver servers or whatever, that are close to LA and work for some of the Texas teams and stuff like that. Now, well, seemingly this series might have been a different story. We'll see what Envoy has to say on this actually in a second, but as he describes, actually hilarious how bad the servers feel in matches, but excuses. He's kind of admitting that he's giving excuses here. But yeah, it must be said, like, we have not seen these complaints, and it must be said also, before the season began, that, you know, they were kind of saying, like, look, if it doesn't work out for us, we're going to just go out to Texas, get a house out there, and, like, that's where we're going to be for our league matches. If this is a problem playing for the 100 Thieves compound, then surely it's something that would have, you know, come up before now. I don't really understand exactly how, like, you've played all these months of the season, hasn't been a problem, and then now you're getting absolutely smoked in a couple of series, and now the servers feel really bad and they're an issue. issue, right? So it's an interesting one. Definitely going to require some more explanation before I'm going to buy that this is actually a realistic excuse as opposed to just actual excuses that you can kind of see on screen. Now, this is what Envoy says, because last year, you guys remember the whole thing. Optic played FaZe and Envoy was on the team. They were playing on like the phases. I think they were playing on the Atlanta server, apparently. There was like the email thing. The email went out and apparently it said they were going to play on that server. Envoy and the kind of the Optic guys didn't kind of go back at it, but really it was the CDL's mistake. There was some drama around that you guys might remember. But as he says, back-to-back years playing a team on a server in the state that they live in. So apparently saying, I'm pretty sure Seattle are based out of Texas. So I guess they're saying that they played Texas team on a Texas server right here, which obviously would put them at a disadvantage. Then again, would it put them at enough of a disadvantage to get blown out in the fashion they did? That's another question. When teams start making excuses like this, it does make me wonder whether this team has any future as a team of 4. But, you know, still, we'll see what happens. Now, 8 says, need some Alex Pen confirmation. This was the guy, I believe, before from the CDL side that talked about it before. We shall see if anything comes out as a result of this. I will most certainly be keeping you guys up to date tomorrow, but very much intrigued to your perspective on this one. What do you think? Like, from the Los Angeles Thieves side, it seems like an absolute disaster. They got blown out in this series. I mean, this also from Paul X, right, tweets this as well, just like in this one here from Ethan. Another team that had me begging for a spot in the offseason, saying to Los Angeles Thieves, they're like, oh, look, they were trying to say, look, Paul, we don't really want you, we're not really sure. And then Paul was like, you know, maybe please, you know, can I join your team? Pretty please. Obviously, doesn't end up happening. And now he's just saying, look, I'm on New York, I'm winning events here, and that you're getting absolutely bodied on the regular. So yeah, this is tough. They've now lost 6 maps in a row here, Los Angeles Thieves, and it's not at all held by statistics like this, where Drazah's got a 0.94, but Kenny, I mean, you know, 37 kills over 3 maps, 0.63 KD, same with Envoy. Like, you know, these are John and Jimbo numbers, right? It must be said. If not worse, to be honest. So, like, maybe, like, these numbers maybe kind of add credence to the idea that they were struggling with something or another. But, you know, if anything, just this team just seems, you know, in a complete disaster zone. And in fairness, if I'm going to roast John for having 4,500 damage over 3 maps, I've got to do the same for Envoy. Interesting stuff. I don't know your thoughts, but, you know, maybe this is one where the truth is somewhere in the middle, but I'm sure we'll hear more over the coming days. Just wanted to mention the final series I want to discuss in this video. We'll talk Boston versus FaZe briefly, of course, tomorrow morning. But Rokkr played the Florida Mutineers, of course, the team that Havok decided to leave before the season even began, or they effectively benched him, and he said, okay, I don't want to be on the bench. I just want to, you know, go to Texas, try and grind, get into challenges, get through to, you know, a good pro team, and he got the chance to kind of get revenge on their decision earlier this year. Does exactly that in this series. They lose the game 1, though, comfortably, actually. Bounce back on the game 2. Pretty impressive search and destroy. And it must be said, honestly, Minnesota Rokkr, their respawns now are starting to look pretty good indeed. Attached this series at 1.52, at least in the control specifically. They win this one 3-2 on Tuscan. Really close affair, but honestly, the slaying the entire game in fairness was in their favor. Havok, Priestahh, they're all going positive. Awakening really the only guy doing anything, at least in terms of pure numbers on the other side. Sky's had a pretty hard time. They close out the series as well. Impressive stuff from the Rokkr. They're now 4-0 this stage. It just does go to show, to be honest. You can make one change sometimes, and it completely changes the dynamic of the team. Havok coming through has definitely turned this team around. They win this series 3-1, 4-0 this stage. They play FaZe next week. That's not going to be easy, but you've got to give credit to Priestahh as well, because he's certainly turned things on its head. And now they respawn in the last 15 respawn games is 12-3. That is honestly, like I'm not going to lie, it's looking like it could be possible here for Attached to take his slice of the pie once again. And he's certainly playing like it at 1.12. Priestahh as well, the other top performer. Just can go to show that a different team environment seems to have turned this guy around. But very much intrigued to your thoughts and all this in the comment section below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, hit on a like button, tell us the YouTube gods this is a good video. I just like you should see it as well. And upgrade the competitive Call of Duty community. Thank you for watching as always. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next time.